Yes. Yeah. What I thought I'd do today is, talk about a couple of things. One is I'll share, what my own career and journey, what I did right, what I did not do right, and hopefully there are learnings from that for you. And I will also talk about a lot of professionals here are from FP&A, from accounting, and uh, those functions. And I will talk about, um what is the expectation? What in the modern day CFO and modern day FP&A finance? What is the expectation from the CFO and of the CFO from FP&A professionals? And um, I'll talk a little bit about my book, and I'll spend a lot of time on Q&A. That's what I want to do, so that you can ask me questions. I will not be using PowerPoint presentations. I thought it'll be more informal if I just talk. And we can wait for Q&A at the end. When I'm talking on a particular subject, if anybody has a question and you feel you want to ask it at that point of time, just type it on chat. Either at that time or later, I will answer those questions. So let me tell you my background. And I live in Bangalore now. I've been living here for the last, couple of decades. I grew up in Bombay or Mumbai. My school, college, CA, my first job. So I was born and brought up in Bombay. And so that was my background. And then in the 90s, when the IT industry started growing in India and in Bangalore, I then shifted to Bangalore. And since then, I've not left the city. My first job was in consulting. And after CA, I joined management consulting. I worked there for 3 years. I did assignments in Bombay and around Bombay, Pune, all those places. And I worked there for 3 years. And in my third year, I worked outside India. So I worked on consulting assignments with EY in the Middle East. So I worked in Kuwait, Dubai, Bahrain. I did assignments in all those countries. And then I quit consulting, moved to Bangalore, as I said. And I took up a job with an IT company called, many of you may not, I don't know, many of you may have heard it or no, called Digital Equipment. In the 90s, 80s, 90s, Digital Equipment was the second largest technology company after IBM. So it is a very, very large company, very successful, very large. In fact, the Indian entity was listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange. And so I worked in that company. I worked in accounting, in taxation. At that time, software export was beginning in India. So I had an opportunity to do international taxation at that time. But in the initial years, I did very, very core kind of accounting functions. I was general ledger accountant. I was expense accountant, in working for the chief accountant. Those are some of the roles that I played before I became the taxation manager of the company. And then I joined IBM, and I stayed in IBM for almost 20 years. I joined IBM in business finance and FP&A, and then I became the controller after some time. After a few years, I went to work outside India. So I worked in 3 different countries during my years in IBM. I worked in Singapore, I worked in Japan, and then I also worked in China. So I did those international stints. Multinational companies often test you, saying, are you good beyond your country? Do you have the capability to work in different situations, different environments? They want to know how you perform. And so they test you and they take you outside and put you through different roles. And then I came back, and after some time, I was the CFO of the company. I was appointed as a CFO of IBM India. IBM India is a very, very large organization, more than 1 lakh employees work in India. More than 25% of the workforce is here. And the organization has several operations. It has domestic sales, export sales, research labs, and even the domestic and the export businesses are divided into divisions. There is hardware, software, networking, consulting. So it's like there were like 12 major divisions in the company at that time. And I was a CFO for some years. Then after that, after being the CFO, I was asked to manage a cost center to get more business experience. So I managed a cost center, a $400 million cost center across Asia Pacific. And then I decided to quit and take a break. Right now I'm on a sabbatical. I don't work anywhere. And it is in my spare time that I've just published this book, The CFO Lens, How to Thrive in the Fast-Changing World of Finance. I'll come back and talk to you about it later. But, what was keeping me busy over the last couple of years was writing this book and getting it published. I'll tell you what the book is about and how you can relate to the book, or how the book relates to you. So I told you that I'll give you a couple of situations in my career and what I did and what I didn't do. People often ask me, tell me what are the good things you did and what are the things that you regret that you should have done more of or you did not do in your career or something like that. And there will be lots of that, of things that you regret and you should have done. But I'll also tell you a couple of things that I think I'm happy I did the way I did. And particularly in the context of business finance and FP&A team members here. When I was in accounting, this was at the beginning of my career, so I was more than 20 years back. So I was in general ledger accounting and, expenses management, all those things, right? And normally what will happen, you close the books, you're involved in accounting, but you're apart from the core accounting you do, one of the things that you do is you interact a lot with FP&A and business finance people, because that's a separate department, and the people in that department take data from accounting, that happens of course even now, and they go and do analysis on that and then present it to management. They are all either do FP&A across the company analysis, or they may be attached to specific divisions, software division, hardware division, whatever, right? So they are part of business units, and in those business units, they serve their sales leader of that. They're part of the sales teams of that division. So people used to come to me and give me this data, give me that data. This should not be like this. All the discussions that people will have with you, and they harass you and you harass them, and chalte rehta. And one of the things that I used to do, which helped me later in my career, was initially when I joined the company, I used to give them whatever data they wanted. They'll say, no, this data is not right. I want this data. I want another data. I want more. And I want it in 1 hour, whatever, right? But after some time, I got into the habit of trying to understand what are they doing with that data. So they were my internal customers, right? That's part of my job. My job was to give them that data so that they could do the right type of analysis on that. So I got interested in understanding the analysis that they were doing on that. So I said, show me your spreadsheet. Tell me what analysis you've done. Tell me you took that revenue information from me that day. Tell me what is the analysis that is coming out. How is it relevant to how the business is performing? And, they may not like it, but They know tomorrow they have to come to me for more data, so they will explain to me. And even if that day they don't have time, they'll say, no, I don't have time. So abhi mat aa yaar, baad mein aaya, I don't have time for all this. And then I'll say, theek hai, you give me a time. Give me a time after 4 days. Give me a time after 8 days. Give me a time at 7 o'clock in the evening. But sit down and explain to me what you're doing with my data. And they used to explain to me. And that helped me understand beyond my accounting role, the analysis part. And what was the purpose of my data? What is the one thing that FP&A professionals should do is, and accounting professionals should do, is understand the larger picture of their jobs. What is my job? What does it feed into? What happens with my work? And otherwise, you just go, you do your work, you meet all the deadlines, you try to do some smart things, but you're not getting the bigger picture. And understanding that bigger picture is very, very important in any work that you're doing, right? So, for example, at the beginning of this call, when people were joining, I was asking, tell me your backgrounds. Unless I understand your background, if I understand your background, I'll tailor my talk according to the audience. If I don't understand that, I will just keep speaking. I'll speak whether, I don't know who the audience are, right? So understanding that is very important. And so then I used to ask them, saying, okay, after that was going on for some time, for a year, 2 years, then I was there in that role for like 5 years and whatever. And then I used to ask them, saying, okay, now you tell me what happened in the meetings. You took this to this business heavy meeting. You said the sales leader wants this data, that data. And what happened? What happened in the discussion? What did he tell you? What did you guys decide to do with the data, to do in the business, not the data? What business decisions did you make with the data? Because ultimately, the only purpose of data, whether you're in accounting or FP&A, is that it is used to make business decisions. And the more you understand the business decisions, the better you will be in doing your work. So what used to happen when I used to understand this better was that the next time those people came and asked me for data, saying, Asha, ye month closing ho gaya, mere ko ye data chahiye, then I'll tell them that, by the way, since you told me that this is what is the discussion that is happening with business leaders and all that, I can give you, I found some other data. I think this data will also be useful for you. The data that they did not ask for, right? So it helped me look at my data, my ledger, in a different way. And that is what you should do. Whatever role you are in, try and understand the bigger picture and try and understand what it gets used for. So let me give you another example, right? So nowadays a lot of work gets done by service centers, center of excellence, shared service centers, outsourced work. And you may be in an organization that is doing some outsourced work for some company, let us say Procter & Gamble or Reliance, right? And you will be asked to do some AR work, you will be asked to do some processing. Try and find out what is that you are going and giving the data to your customer. What is the customer doing with it? Not to criticize them, but to make your job more meaningful. That is what will make your job more meaningful. It will make you do your work better. The quality of your output will change when you understand the end use of your work, right? And that is what I'm trying to suggest to you. And interestingly, as it happened, and then I did all this accounting and for nearly 5 years. Then they made me the taxation manager, and those days the country just started doing software export in the 90s, and there was a lot of international taxes involved because India used to do software work for Hong Kong, US, Europe. So I started I had to learn some of those basics of those international taxes. And that was my role. Of course, domestic tax was there in India and trying to save money and all that stuff, compliance. And this led to something very interesting. What I'm telling you of trying to understand a bigger picture of your accounting work and your analysis work. And even if you are an FP&A, let us say you're an FP&A, let's say you're not an accounting. Again, try and understand. You may be giving it your data to business finance people, or you may be giving it to business leaders. Try and understand the decisions they are making. Get more interested in that. It will make your job much more interesting and much more fun than just meeting deadline. We all get bored here. And by the way, 90%, 95% of your work will still be only that. 5% of your time, if you devote to this extra work, it will make it a lot different. And it helped me. I did not expect it, but it helped me get my next job. I wanted to move into business finance in my old company, Digital itself, but I couldn't move into business finance at that time. At some point, they thought I was too junior. At some point, they thought I was too senior for that job, right? And I never got into business finance. But very funnily, I was hired as the head of business finance for IBM without any business finance experience. And I had not worked in FP&A, I had not worked in business finance, but IBM was reasonably big by those standards of those days. And they were looking at candidates for business finance manager. And somehow I got that job. And part of the reason I got that job, it's not that my uncle was there or something like that. Part of the reason I got the job was because I understood what FP&A people and business finance people do, though I was only in accounting. And when I went for the interview, I could answer many of those questions. So they were asking me only FP&A questions, business finance questions. They were not asking, they asked me some accounting questions, things like that. So that helped. It led to a difficult situation. I'll come and talk to the difficult situation because, again, I think you're interested in understanding how people handle difficult situations. That will be another useful input to you. I'll tell you about some politics and all that interesting stuff. I joined business finance in IBM, and then I was appointed financial controller after some years, and then I was outside India and I did one job in Singapore. I was supposed to be there for 2 years and come back, but when I was doing that job in Singapore, some job opportunity came up in Tokyo. That was an unexpected job. IBM has 4 major businesses: hardware, software, and technology services and outsourcing. And there are other divisions also. But there was a job of the CFO of the hardware business. It's called Technology Service Systems and Technology. It makes everything from, you're nowadays reading a lot about India wants to make semiconductors in India and all that. So that was a division of IBM that made semiconductors. And it also made computer hardware, mainframe computer storage, devices, so many different things. So that job of the CFO for Asia Pacific was open. And somehow I got that job. And again, people did not expect me to get the job. I did not expect to get the job. When the job came to me, I said, "Ye bahut bada job hai. I don't have the right experience for it, so I'm not ready for it." I turned it down. Then they called me again to come to Tokyo and meet some people. And again, I turned it down. I was very scared. I'm telling you very honestly. But there was one, the financial controller of Asia Pacific was very keen somehow that I get that job. There was a background reason for that, because they wanted to develop Indian talent and send them back to India, because they knew India would grow and become very big, which it has become very big. And they wanted to train and test Indians. Because that time IBM India was too small to be important for IBM. So Indian people were not known outside the country. So somebody decided that day, because with a vision and whatever she decided that day, she said, "Look, Ravi, You are saying IBM is so small today, IBM will become very big. And at that time, I told you there are more than 1 lakh employees today. At that time, it was only 5,000 employees, which is not much by software industry standards, right? Because the industry itself was not that big those days. But it became very, very big. It grew from the time she hired me to the job, IBM grew 20 times. And she had that vision to say, "Ye ek din bada hoga aur I need to train Indians for it." So that is how I got the job. So she said, "Chalega, you don't worry. You come and do the job." And then I did that, and then I came back to India. I lived in Tokyo. The Asia Pacific headquarters used to be in Tokyo. Then the company found Tokyo very expensive, and they changed the Asia Pacific headquarters to China. And then I went to China and lived there with my family. And every time I moved, whether in Japan or China, my family was with me. I had 2 small boys at that time. By the time I moved to China, they'd become teenagers. So they also got good exposure to international schools and living and, all those stuff. And then I came back, and then I became the CFO here. And by the time I took over as a CFO, the headcount had already crossed 1 lakh. And I said there were 12 major divisions. And, one of the things I realized was too much pressure. Too many people are pulling you in different directions. And that, if you're a CFO, all the 12 business unit leaders said you have to give as much of your time as possible to my division. My division has to grow. You know how organizations are. And there was a lot of those, but that's normal. That happens in all organizations. And that's when I realized, and this is again something that I practiced, and I practiced it even more after I became CFO, is that focus on productivity. Everybody today, if you take today's world, most of you are youngsters, everybody is working very hard. There were some people in my father's days, most of the jobs were government jobs. Only 20% of the people were hardworking, or 50% of the people. Many of the people used to just come, do their work and go. And then that changed, and with a lot of private sector coming in. And again, there was, hard work was given. People used to say, "Oh, he's very hardworking. She's very hardworking." Abhi to aisa nahi hai. Everybody is working 12, 14, 15 hours a day, 6 days a week, always on the mobile, always watching email, replying immediately. So there's a lot of work. There's a lot of workload. And you are going to be... So what differentiates... Let us say, there are 3 people I can see on the screen. Neeraj, right? Neeraj, Asif and myself. So what differentiates the 3 of us? All 3 of us are working hard. Right? How smartly you work is what will make the difference. And part of smart work is productivity. If you talk to HR, heads of HR, so what are the traits of a successful person? Productivity is one of the important traits of successful people. And I will define this a little later as to what I mean by productivity. In fact, I'll tell you right now. Are you focused on the important things? Too much work, whatever, you're 25-year-old, you're 45-year-old today, work keeps on coming, deadlines keep on coming, targets are more and more are always there. But are you focused on the important? वो तो करना ही है, you have no choice. But there will be in every role some things that are important. And how efficiently you devote your time to that important work is what productivity is about. So for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say when I was a CFO of the company, and the days used to be very long, hundreds of mails will come every day. But there will always be things there's some problem in the organization will always be there. Dozens of problems will be there. Many times you will not get time to devote to those problems. But the organization really at its heart wants you to work on those problems. Day-to-day kaam to hai, right? It is taken for granted that you will work on that. But who is going to work on the problems? If every employee says, itna kaam hai, I work till 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. So the leaders are those who solve problems for organizations. And so you have to be focused on problems. Go beyond your role and solve problems for the company. Whenever there is a problem, don't just do your bit. Go beyond your piece. Maybe somebody else's work, your colleagues' work, some other department's work, your boss's work. Take that extra effort and help the company solve that problem. That is what organizations respect. Let me give you one very small example that happens with us all the time. We live in an apartment complex. Let's say there are 50 houses in an apartment. And suddenly there is some problem. Some electricity problem is there. Some major water leakage problem or water supply problem is there. Somebody in the building is very smart. They immediately take an initiative and go try and solve that problem. Today it may be you, tomorrow it may be someone else. Then everybody loves it. Arey yaar, aaj Asif ne, we were building a problem, Asif was the one who took the lead and solved it. People love people who take that initiative and solve the problem. So you love it when there is no electricity and then suddenly Asif goes, he takes, does something, does some whatever, right thing, jugaad, whatever, and solves the problem. You get it in 10 minutes. It is a problem. The core of the matter is there is a problem. Somebody takes an initiative beyond their normal thing and helps solve the problem for the organization. Same thing. The other thing that you need to focus on, a part of, whether you call it productivity, you call it whatever, is impact of your work. Whenever you do any work, find out what is the impact of that work. Right? Let me give you an example. Right, so I'm the financial controller, I'm the CFO, I'm the tax manager, I'm accounting manager, I'm a general ledger person. Let us say we make some policy change. Sorry.
I think you need to come on.
So let us say I'm an accounting manager or FP&A guy and I make some policy change, some procedure change. We need to do it to improve something, right? Which is very good. You are happy, your boss is happy, organization is happy. But 1 week later, 1 month later, 6 months later, people will want to know what is the impact of that. कि कुछ हुआ उससे, did it actually solve the problem that it was supposed to solve? Suppose it was supposed to generate more revenue. Suppose you're a sales guy, support more revenue. Did it really result in higher revenue? That is what is impact. Right? So many times we are very happy with the effort, but beyond the effort, it is the impact that makes a difference. So like World Cup is going on, cricket. We all watch every day, whole day we are watching for the last 1 month. Somebody hits a shot. If it goes straight to the fielder, what is the impact? Nothing. You say, itna zor se mara maine. I really hit some hard shots, but if you're hitting it straight to the fielder, what is the impact? Or when are you playing a good innings? When the company needs you, I was talking about problem solving. It's a Virat Kohli. But the impact of his innings is always very high. He's always scoring runs when the situation is difficult. So, impact of your work, measure the impact. If I change a policy, find out if it is actually working on the ground. Right? If it is not working on the ground, at the end of the year, you can go tell your boss, hey, मैंने ये policy change किया, वो policy change किया, boss भी सारे लाएगा. But what's the use? Right? And so focus on productivity, focus on impact, and do these couple of things when you're focusing on when you're doing your work. What I spoke about, a third thing I forgot. Yeah, solve problems. Yeah? So remember these things when one of the times I felt very good when I got my annual feedback. We all get Nowadays, don't get it annually, you get it quarterly, half yearly. One of the statements that my boss, people say nice things, people say not good things. One of the good things that my boss told me much later in my career was, you're result oriented. That is, you have to be result oriented. All that I described now was to be result oriented. Asif, when he solved the electricity problem in the building, was result oriented. You wanted the result to improve something. If you do your piece saying, मैंने तो मेल भेज दिया, अरे मैंने उसको वो दिन ही दे दिया, that is not result oriented. That is doing your piece, trying to find out if the issue has got resolved, and tracking it till then, trying to go beyond your role and doing things. That is what is result orientation. Right? You want the end result of your work to be achieved. You want your work to be achieved, and you want the problem to be solved. Or some new initiative. If it's not a problem, it may be a new initiative. You want the initiative to be successful, not just your piece of the initiative to work well. So can you do a little bit extra? Thoda. That was what tomorrow Asif is choosing between Neeraj and me for a promotion. These are the factors that he will take into account. Let's say we both report to Asif and he is deciding kisko do main. These are the things that he will keep in mind. There was a benefit of that. So that is that. Now, the second, I'm just concluding. So when I became the CFO, I was telling you that there will always be important things for the organization beyond the targets, and the deadlines, and the day-to-day work, and the meetings, and all that. I would make it a point to find time for it. Consciously. On Monday morning, I will block my calendar. Say half an hour on Wednesday, 1 hour on Thursday is only for special projects. Special project means it can be some chota project. It need not be some big, opening a new factory or something like that. It may be that little problem that need to be solved. I will block my calendar and say, okay, in this half an hour, I am not, I'll tell my secretary, you cannot give this time to anybody. You cannot schedule any meeting at this time. By doing that, I was concentrating and paying attention to the matter that required attention. You understand what I'm saying? Right? So this again, you can do at all levels. I'm just giving you an example. Don't ever, when somebody senior to you says things, I'm sure you understand, just take the perspectives involved in it. Don't say, no, at my level, it is not possible. Because many of my own team members have come and told, अरे आप कर सकते हैं, मेरे level पे नहीं होगा. No, that is not true. You do what is possible at your level. Alright? Because everybody is junior in context or senior in context only. If I am the CFO of IBM India, the CEO is bigger than me. The Asia Pacific CFO is bigger than me. The global CFO is much bigger than me. So can I tell the global CEO, ये आपके level में होगा, मेरे level पे नहीं होगा यार? Can I say that? No, I can't. So make time for this and work towards things that you think are relevant and more useful for the organization. That is my guidance that I would like to share with you. So that was a little bit about my journey and what I did and what I didn't do well. What I didn't do well, I think, this I learned very late in my career. So can you give me a 1 minute break? I'll just be back. I can't hear you. Can I take a 1 minute break and come back?
Oh,
Sure, sir. Sure.
Yeah. We take a break and come back.
No, I'm here. I'm right here.
Yes. Guys, feel free to ask any questions, anything that you wanted to ever ask, say your senior or your CFO you couldn't ask, please feel free to ask here. This is a very safe forum.
So, Asif, this is 1 hour session or?
This is 1 hour session and then Q&A. So it should wrap up in maybe 70 minutes or so.
Okay, fine.
I hope you're getting some practical voice on whatever we covered in the class. So we talked about bigger picture, special projects. If you remember the calendar we did, we talked about building relationships, solving problems. These are some practical, experiences that you are hearing. But I hope this you can relate to whatever we had talked about in the class. Maybe that was not very practical, or we shared it more from a knowledge sharing perspective. But I'm hoping you get a little bit of experience as well right now with very senior people sharing it with you.
Yeah, Asif, definitely.
Yes, Akinta, so recording will be available by tomorrow. So you will be able to access the recording for sure. Hey Ravi, hope everything is okay with you.
Yeah, no, I'm just, I don't know, I'm having a little bit of cough since morning. So when I talk, obviously, no. So let me come to what do CFOs expect from FP&A people? What I told you about some of the expectations are common across roles. If it's you're in FP&A or you're outside FP&A, I gave you some specific examples of what FP&A people can do. But beyond that, there is one important aspect for FP&A people, business finance people, accounting people, is that today is a world of insights. And we are very lucky that there is so much data available. Insights requires data. The data is available. You have the skill to play with that data. So my advice to you is play with it. I'll tell you what is playing with data. People are not just interested in analysis. They are interested in knowing. Again, I'll give you the bigger picture. You translate it. You see how it translates to your job. Business, the CFO's expectation is what the CEO expects from the CFO. What the business leaders expect from the CFO is what the CFO expects from the FP&A team. And that is that to analyze the data in such a way that it has meaning. And it helps the business leaders understand the problem. So you cannot say revenue grew 17%, in South India it grew 19%, in East India it grew 22%, but in North it only grew 5%. This product did like that product did like this. No. That is, nowadays machines can do that. People are interested in understanding the insights behind it. Why, if I did not grow in the state of Gujarat or Hyderabad or Andhra, why? So use the data and your work to help understand why. And the way to understand why is by drilling down data. You have one data, you get, okay, in Gujarat we did only 5% growth. Why we did only 5% growth? Okay, so we did 5% growth because in Ahmedabad there was this marketing program we did. That marketing program did not succeed. And the next question is, why did that marketing program not succeed? Again, you have data for everything today. People are not expecting you to have market knowledge and market intelligence. Look at data in a very deep way. Drill it down. People are interested. The way that Ahmedabad sales are going to go up tomorrow or Hyderabad sales are going to go up tomorrow is by drilling down and helping understand what is the root cause why it did not work. Right? Last week there was festival, it did not work. The previous year also there was festival. Is that going to solve the problem? Find out if your analysis is going to help somebody make a decision. And that is what leaders are interested in today. Will my analysis lead to a decision? Keep that perspective in mind always about things. And the second thing, it brings me to the point saying, first, give insights, don't just analyze. And secondly, try and tell people not just what happened, or what did not happen, but why it did not happen. Right? Oh, our sales in Ahmedabad did not take place because, we don't have the training in the last 6 months given to the salespeople was not good enough. Actually, that is what results impacts the business. Right? It is factors on the ground that impact the business. This marketing program we ran, but it did not reach the right audience. Right? So you got to look at operational data, you got to look at finance data. Aajkal finance data se kuch nahi chalta. Because people don't want the data, don't want analysis after the month closing. People want analysis before the month closing. Right? Take decisions. Decisions are made before the closing. What is the point in making? If you give a good analysis, it will help February sales, but you will not help January sales. Well, January sales, you have to give it in January, not in February after the books are closed. Right? So look at operational data, look at previous financial data and say so why? Not analysis insights, not just what, but why, and drill down. And the third thing, important thing is communicate effectively. हम सब analyze करते हैं, but the way we communicate is very, very important. And that is the biggest change between my generation and your generation. Is today the way you communicate is very important. People don't have time. You have to say it once and say it effectively. Successful people are people who not only say the right thing, but say it effectively. And this happens even in your and my house. Suppose my father wants me to do something. I will be convinced to do that if my father says it in a way that I feel like doing it. That is what is effective communication. Sometimes my father says something, I don't like the way he says it. It is also the way you say it. I don't like what he said, I don't like the way he said it. And I'm not convinced. Then 2 days later, my elder brother, he comes and explains to me, yaar, tune samjha nahi, this is the way, he explains it in a better, the same thing that my father said, he explains in a better way to me. The same thing. And now I'm ready to do it. So your communication has to be effective. Remember that. You cannot just communicate. You have to communicate effectively. And my first chapter in my book is about effective communication. Because successful people are people who influence the outcome. Right? If Neeraj comes and talks to me, I'm just giving you some simple examples. And he says, Ravi, come and talk today. At the end of it, I'm not convinced that this is the right thing to do for my time or whatever the reason. Then that is not effective. He has not been able to influence me. Right? Then the next call, he comes and thinks of something else. He gives me a better reason to come and talk. Now I say, हाँ यार. The objective is the same. The purpose is the same. But he has influenced me in the second call because he has said it in a different way. Similarly, whatever data we have, you have to say that data in a way that the other person is convinced about it. Okay? So these are what I will, I'm going to stop here. I've been talking for 45 minutes, which I said I will. So in terms of my journey, in terms of what CFOs expect, the other thing that CFOs expect is curiosity. Just knowing your piece of work, your work is not good enough today. And curiosity, I gave you several examples of curiosity. Trying to understand the bigger picture is curiosity, trying to understand things. So if you are in accounting and there is a change in the tax law, don't say, I'm not interested in that. Try and understand at least the broader picture of that job. Because sooner or later, then you will be able to connect things with your job much better. Right? So people who are more curious is what I've spoken to many CFOs. I've spoken to 8-10 CFOs in the process of writing my book. And said, what kind of people do you like? And they said the number one trait I'm looking for, particularly modern day, is curiosity. I say, if he doesn't have the skill to do FP&A, I will teach him. Don't worry. I'm not worried about it. He's not having the skill. But I worry about people who don't have curiosity. People who are not willing to learn beyond their minimum scope of their job. So remember this. Okay? Asif?
Thank you so much, Ravi, for sharing your life's experience. I'm sure a lot of people must have got inspired. They'll definitely take this as a lesson for them. Now, what we want to do is
just give me five minutes. I'll just talk a little bit about my book. Okay.
Sure.
So what I did for the audience on the call is I thought that there are a lot of online material available. You ask any topic, communication, whatever I discussed today, or what are 5 million other topics. You just go to on internet and you'll key it and you'll get 1,000 articles each. What I thought many of those articles are lacking is practical wisdom and practical guidance. Guidance of people who have worked inside companies, guidance of people who have succeeded, guidance of people who have failed. These are the things that readers are interested. And so, for example, my book, the first chapter talks about, I've tried to provide as much practical guidance and practical stories. So what is written here in this book, you may not be able to read it, there are more than 60 to 65 stories and best practices in this book, real life stories. And by the way, this book is only 200 pages. It's not a fat book. I deliberately kept it because, people don't like to read 300-400 page ka book, nobody is interested in reading. But I spoke to so many CFOs, CEOs. I asked them about their perspectives and how did they solve problems, what mistakes did they make in life. It is not about their journeys, but when I write on a specific topic, let's just say I'm writing on risk management, then I talk to the CFO and saying, what do you think how did you manage risk and what are the things that happened and tell me some stories from that. And then I've written on that topic. So it's almost like there are 10 chapters and 40 topics within that. So every chapter has 4 or 5 topics. And every chapter begins with a story. And I've another, for example, the second or the third chapter. The second chapter is how do you understand your work beyond what is defined for you, which is what I've been speaking about since the beginning. Understanding the work, understanding the company, understanding the business. The third chapter is something that is very relevant for you. How do you convert data to insights? Lots of data available. How do you combine data? How do you combine operational data and financial data? How do you combine external data and how do you combine internal data? And I've actually given real life examples. I've not just written theory. So anyway, when I talk about risk management, I've given examples of real risks that take place in companies. ये company में ये हुआ and this is what you should do to avoid it. So it is, and the whole purpose is to provide practical real life guidance and so that you will be able to relate to it. You will be able to take those perspectives and apply it in your day-to-day work. So, it is available in every country in the world. You can go to Amazon in any country and search for the CFO lens. And if you can't search it in that, use my name, Ravi Kumar. And you'll be able to find the book. It's available all over the world. And you can, for those who like to read in Kindle or who like to order the physical copies, it's available. It's available in India, it's available on Flipkart, Amazon, Kindle version. World over, it's available on Amazon and Kindle. And I've spoken about a lot of the things that I mentioned to you about what I did not do, what I did right, where I messed up. Because that's also learning for people. They're learning for me and learning for you also, right? So that's the book. The CFO lens, and if you're interested, you can buy it and read it whenever you find time. Asif has bought it and he's reading it now. So so that's it, Asif. Let me open it up for Q&A.
Thank you. And I've dropped the link of the book in the chat, so just in case if you want to check the details, you can do that. So it's in the Zoom chat as well. Yeah, go ahead. Let's take questions, guys. Please feel free to ask questions. Neeraj is saying he likes the title. It's very appealing.
A friend of mine actually gave it to me. I didn't think of it. I was struggling for a title.
I would like to ask something, Asif.
Yeah, please feel free.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. Mr. Ravi, it was a great session. Learned a lot from your journey and very inspiring also. And we hope to use some of this in our journey also, as we grow in our career. One thing I would like to ask you is when you took over role of a CFO, what were your initial challenges? The first few things, maybe the first 90 days, something which you found that something you had to do to ensure that you perform well as a CFO.
So, one is you have to spend time understanding different aspects of your role. So, suppose you come from predominantly business finance background. So, let's say you're an MBA. Whatever is your area of relative weakness. Sorry, 1 minute.
You need to unmute, Ravi. You'll have to
so whatever is not your core strength, you need to understand that. I went out and started going to the market and meeting customers. Because if I cannot be the CFO of a company if I don't understand the market and the customers, I cannot say I'm just a finance guy, right? The second thing is your priorities in the first 90 days will depend on the problems at that point in time. So whatever were the problems at that point in time, I made sure I somehow found time for those problems. I used to go into meetings which I was not probably invited to. Maybe the business unit ka problem tha, some sales was not going up somewhere. I'll go sit in that meeting and understand what the problem is that I have to contribute to. So your priority depends on the problems on hand, right? And it depends on what your CEO is focused on. Always worry about what your boss is worried about and see how you can contribute beyond your job in that area. Because there will be something, you can be an accountant, you can be an FP&A guy, you can be the CFO. If my boss is under pressure on some particular aspect, bosses will always be under pressure for revenue, profit, all those things. But uske alawa, something is bothering the organization, then that is a priority area for you. So in your first 90 days or second 90 days or 10th 90 days, that should be on your agenda. Always. Remember that. If you take that away from your agenda, that means you are not focused on the organization's problems. You're focused only on your problems, which is important, very important. Your problems you don't solve, who will solve? But again, I'm telling, the advice I give you is, despite all the workload you have, try and carve out that 5% to do something extra. I had to carve out time to go meet customers. That was not in my job to meet customers, right? But I had to call Delhi. She called me to Delhi. Gaya 3 din. No finance work was possible. Very little finance work was possible at that time. But you have to find time. Or even in your own area, forget beyond. Even your own area, something is not getting solved. Find time for it. Sorry, that's my answer. Did I answer?
Yeah, thank you so much. That was great.
Anybody, by the way, all of you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can search for me, Ravi Kumar Ramanan. That's how it appears on LinkedIn, RAMANAN. I'll just type it here for you. You can connect with me. You can ask your question. You can ask any other questions any other day on LinkedIn. You can ask me. I have no problem. I'll be happy to answer you. Okay, go ahead. Next question.
Yeah, go ahead. You have a raised hand.
Yeah, sure. So in your experience, when you are interacting with the business teams, you might have come across some tough characters, right? Some not so cooperative, some very cooperative. How did you deal with the tough cookies? Sometimes how much ever we want to partner with the business, the business leader or sometimes the senior leaders or the CEO might not be that receptive. How did you deal with that situation?
A very good question happens to everybody all the time, in whatever role you're in, right? You're interested in accounting, you're interested in solving some problem with the factory, and the factory manager is not interested, and the factory guy accountant is not interested in solving that problem, right? So the way to deal with difficult people is there is no one answer. I failed many times, but the way to get to them is by understanding their problem. So if I have to deal with a business unit leader who thinks, yaar, ye Ravi se kuch nahi hoga, chhod do usko, right? Then you should accept that you are probably really not adding value to that person. We are all selfish people here. All of us are selfish. He will be really interested in me if I'm able to do something for him. So try and understand why he thinks he's not. So for example, some business leaders don't like to deal much with finance because they say they don't understand the business. They don't understand ground realities. They don't respect finance. So my attempt at going out to the market was to understand ground realities. Hota kya hai? So get into the people who try to add value to their work. Try to solve some of their problems or try to understand it better. It's a slow process. You are not going to be able to convince that person in 30 days, 60 days. It may take you 1 year. There will be resistance. Despite all that you do, they will still hate you. Right? But understanding that, but what are they really interested in? They are interested in the well-being of their business. So connecting yourself to the well-being or the aspects of the business that will result in the well-being is what will allow you into his. He will give you time. He or she will give you time. Otherwise, when you knock at his or her cabin, they are not interested. Abhi main busy hu yaar, baad mein aa ja. Right? So do things that are relevant to that person. Despite that, it has happened in my career. There have been very difficult people. I have never been able to convince them. And again, out of 10 people, difficult people, you will never end up convincing all. If you've made progress with 5, 6 of them, it's a good deal. So if I want to convince you, then I have to same aspect of influence. I will be able to influence you if I'm talking and communicating and doing things that are of interest to you. Then you are really interested in me. Then you will not resist me anymore. Right? Yeah. That's a very good question. It happens to everybody. Who's Sairam? Okay. Sairam has a question. I'm currently working in ESG reporting domain. How do you think is going to be important for the company? How do you think it's going to be mainstream? Also, ESG outcomes are getting tied to communication to C-suite. How ESG is going to be extremely important. If you're in that domain, it's a great thing. By the way, part of ESG is risk management because many of these things, environmental issues, governance issues, are also carry huge risks, and organizations are trying to manage that. So for example, when I was the CFO of the company, the function of ERM, enterprise risk management, used to report to me, and many of these ESG aspects will come there. That if we don't follow this compliance with this governance law, with this compliance, or if you don't do these things for the environment, it's a risk to the company, it's a compliance risk, or it's a business risk, or something. So I used to get involved in ESG matters because ERM used to report to me, and I had to deal with all the business leaders and aspects of ESG. In the future, for example, today how important it is today there are private equity companies and VCs who will only invest in your company if you are focused on ESG. Your business plan may be very good, but if it is polluting the environment, it is creating some of the problems for the society, they will not be interested in financing you. Right? ESG has now come to the center of the purpose of a business. So to your point, how important? Extremely important. You're in a very good area. It is already mainstream. How is it going to become? No, it has already become mainstream. CEOs are measured on ESG. The moment the CEO is measured on ESG, the entire organization has to contribute to ESG. Very simple. The board is measured on ESG. Right? So metric, go look at important metrics. Everything is about business metrics today. Operational data, that I mentioned earlier. You as a ESG professional should be focused on the various metrics. How can you drill it down? How can you come out with insights? New insights. What is insight? Insight is anything that, if I say something that Asif already knew, then it is not insightful. Today, if I've said something that Asif did not know, you did not know, Neeraj did not know, Sairam did not know, it is insight. You find it insightful. Similarly, on your work, people are interested in your telling them things that they did not know. So use the power of data to know that, right? Focus on things, telling them things that they did not know. The earlier question, how do I talk to people who resist me? Tell them things that they did not know. They will be interested in it, right? Oh, really? I didn't know that was happening in the business. I said, do you know this is what is happening in the company? Do you know this is what is happening in your business? And the guy will say, no, I didn't know that was happening. Everybody is interested in things that they don't know. Yeah. Okay, next question.
It's a question Himanshu is asking. I am from accounting profile now in FP&A. What kind of steps I need to take to boost my profile in FP&A?
I gave you the answers. Focus on insights, not analysis. Focus on why, not just what, and communicate better.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Communication and storytelling will improve that. And the answer to that, when I don't have time, but I've devoted an entire chapter to it in my book, is not just to go read some internet articles and say, I learned how to do it. Practice it. Practice in your day-to-day work. Whatever you learn through internet articles, coaching, mastermind classes are of no use if you do not practice it. Day after tomorrow, one more mastermind class will be there. Today's class will be forgotten. One more YouTube you'll read next week. Today's YouTube, what you heard, will be forgotten. So practice is very important in whatever you want to achieve. Okay.
Understand you. Thank you.
Yeah. You can, if you want further, just chat with me on LinkedIn. I can, if you want, just in the interest of time, if you want more, I'll be very happy to help you on through using LinkedIn.
Yeah, surely I'll do that. Thank you very much.
I've already dropped a link to Ravi's profile in the chat. Feel free to add him or send him a request, just in case if you want to connect with him. Any other questions? But feel free to ask maybe one.
Can I ask some questions? Good afternoon, Ravi sir. This is Krishna actually. And actually, when I was in Reliance, when I used to talk to the business partners, like the business team, it was a very big team. So always they will have the forecast number and they used to achieve 50% of the target. So every week we used to report these numbers to the top management. What is the target for the last week and what is the actual achievement has happened. So they used to give that reasoning for that gap of 50% or the 60%, whatever gap is. So they will give such a reasons which will be accepted with the management. But even I feel this is not the truth, true comments. The reason what they are giving, for which the business didn't happen what they were expecting in the different regions. So in this type of scenario, how we used to handle to the other team so that we can better interpret the actual what exactly happened for which the business could not achieve the target, what was decided to be achieved.
Yeah, so this was my point on trying to get to drill down, trying to get to actual reasons why, by asking why, you keep unlayering. So let's say they gave X as a reason, right?
Yeah.
And they say, I know why it has not happened, it is because of X reason. But next week again, it doesn't happen, same reason. So what you're saying is, they gave reasons, but they were not the real reasons. So then look for the real reasons. You told me that we did not meet our target for the following reason, A, B. I now have data to tell you that AB is not the real reason. AB is actually doing well. Your problem is CD. For that, the only way you'll be able to convince them is by using data. Right?
Yes.
They'll come and say, no, we did not have, whatever that person was. We were short of headcount. Last quarter, we did not do well because 4 people had resigned from the team. There were from my team about 10 people, and therefore my sales did not go up. Now that I've hired all the 4 people, I'm fine.
Okay.
But your point is that, it will solve some problem, but it may not solve the real problem. So what is the real problem? Is the real problem only that 4 people resigned and they did not work? Or is there some other problem? Is there a problem with the pricing of the product? Is there a problem with dealer and distributor? Right? You have the data. Finance has the power of data, Baba. We are the most powerful guys. We have so much data. Go look at data and tell them, boss, this is not the real reason. Right? I've got data to show. And when will they listen to you? When will they believe you? Only if you show them data. So go and show them data saying, look, our dealer sales is the real issue. Right? Or if dealer sales they are saying is the problem, you will say, no. Some other problem. Here is data to say that apart from dealer sales, this is also a problem. Unless we fix it. So go use the power of data. So listen to them. They'll throw you out of the room saying, no, don't worry. I know what is the issue. I know how to fix the problem. Don't worry. They will fix the problem. Maybe they're all genuine, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not, they are interested in their business. But you keep probing that area to say, okay, they took this action. Is that action working? Or is there some other reason? Go give them the data associated with that some other reason. Get them interested in it. And that doesn't work. There must be some other problem then, some other root cause. Right?
Okay, noted.
So keep probing that way to help them get to the real reason. Don't get disappointed that they don't care for you. Don't get, think that ultimately remember that they are more interested in solving the problem than you and I are as finance people. So the salary is dependent on that, right?
It's true, sir.
But
Thank you, sir.
And the other thing that I tell everybody is, don't expect that person to immediately take your action, to immediately take your reason and say, okay, I will go do this tomorrow morning. No, it doesn't happen. Oh, my wife keeps telling me, you don't do this is a problem, this is the problem. Immediately I don't say, oh, really, this is the problem with me? From tomorrow morning I will behave differently. No, I will not behave differently from tomorrow morning, but slowly it will have an impact on me.
Correct, sir.
Slowly it will have an impact on the business teams. Don't expect them to take your analysis, run and solve the problem. It doesn't. But the moment you give quality information, it will slowly have an impact, and be patient about that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
that's it. One more question I can take, if there is any. Last.
There is one interesting question which I think you might be the person to answer. So have you met anyone who has impressed you being at a lower designation in the hierarchy? Any real-time instance when you felt that this guy or this girl will definitely be the future CFO?
Yeah, always. You will meet. So I'll tell you 2 perspectives to it. One of them was what I was actually trying to. I will answer the next question by Sairam also. Let me be very brief. You will meet those. You will meet those people, and you will say, "Arey, he or she is really bright. You're going to make it one day." And this was a question in the course of my writing out. This is not a topic that I've covered, but I used to ask myself when I became a CFO. I was in the company for 20 years. I've seen many people who look very bright and who made it big, or some people who look very bright but did not make it. And I've asked this question to other CFOs also, saying, why did the people who look very bright when they were young not make it? Right? And the common answer I got was, one of the answers I got is the ability to function in different environments and succeed in different environments is what makes you the CFO. I was telling you, they took me outside India to test me whether there was work. That's a test of a different environment. Some people will do well only when the business is doing well. Some people will do well only when working in that division. Boss badal gaya, to they will not be as shining as before. So your ability to succeed in different business situations, different personal situations. Sometimes, if my personal life is I'm having some personal problem, maybe official itself, saying I thought I did not get promoted at the right time. It does not matter to the organization. In that circumstance, the only thing that matters to the organization is, are you still performing well or no? I'm coming back to the same example between Neeraj and me, who is going to get promoted. So Asif takes a decision to promote Neeraj. If I keep sulking about that and not perform my work well, next year also Asif will not promote me. Next year also there is a chance to promote somebody, he will not promote. So people who don't, you have to consistently work in all situations. And people who fail to do that, I can think of 5 names in my head in my own organization that I used to work in. Their ability to work, somebody we sent them abroad, they could not handle the different culture. Dealing with a Japanese person and a Chinese person and a Malaysian person and an American person is not easy. They could not do that. It's a different situation, right? So they were very bright, but beyond a point, their growth was limited. So just understand the underlying thing. The last question, being a CFO, how did you manage the expectations, pressure? Sometimes it feels that no way you can meet it. Yeah, I agree. Many times you will feel, yaar, hoga nahi yaar. Or like I gave you my example when I was given a job in Tokyo, I said, mere se nahi hoga. Too much expectation, too much pressure of that work. But somebody was willing to trust me and I took it. And once you take it, you will have to find out what are the 3 things that I can do that will make me successful. Same example I gave with the first 90 days. What are the 3 important things that I need to focus on? What are these expectations that are very difficult to manage, and let me see what I have to learn to manage it. Right? So when my CFO and one my annual appraisals CEO, she told me, you need to do much more strategy work. You're not doing enough strategy work as a CFO. You're doing, then I spent the next 6 months doing as much strategy work as possible because I knew that was an expectation in which I was failing. Right? What is this? No way I will be able to make it. There's nothing like no way. You will feel on a given day that ye mere se nahi hoga. But over a period of time, if you devote the right level of energy and things to it, then I had a meeting with her after 6 months saying, are you now comfortable? I listed down saying, Acha, if these things I'm not thinking strategy enough, not devoting enough time to strategy work, I made a list of things that I will do in the area of strategy alone. Forget the 10 other things, the responsibilities I had as a finance person. Statutory, closing the books, audit, compliance, team. But I listed 5 things that I will do specifically in the area of strategy to make sure that this expectation is met. So take your feedback seriously. Don't just say, yaar, mere ko time nahi hai, yaar, theek hai, feedback hai. Or my boss doesn't know anything. This is a standard thing which you all say. My boss doesn't know anything. This observation is not right. I am so good at it. I'm so good. That day I did this strategy work. This day I did this strategy work. If she feels that this is not enough, then it is not enough. End of discussion. Don't double guess it. Only you will be at a disadvantage by double guessing your. Yeah, if your boss gives you 3 negative feedback, 1 may be really bad. She may be wrong. He may be wrong. So leave that. The other 2 are good. Take it and work on it. Okay. So I'm going to stop here. Asif.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for.
Time?
Yes. We are almost on time. Just 5 minutes over, which is good.
We started 5 minutes late, so.
Yes. So we are almost on time. Thank you so much, Ravi, for joining us. And definitely looking forward to reading your book and staying connected with you on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with Ravi and get his book and reach out to him if you have more questions. Thank you so much for joining.
Somebody's made notes, and if they want to summarize it and put it on LinkedIn, so that people who could not attend, people who wanted to attend, could not attend, may, if it is useful, you can do that also. Whatever works for you guys.
So this recording will go in few places, including our LMS and then YouTube, and so that all those things will happen.
Okay, maybe you can share your comments and what they can look for in the video or something like that, and then get them interested in it.
Definitely.
Effective communication. Try to get them interested in the video.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining, and thank you, Ravi, again.